All right, Dirty Sports episode 899. We are live on YouTube in 5, 4, 3. Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Ruther, coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, with my co-host from New York, Joey No Chill Prano.
Hello, Andrew.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We were just together.
We were just together, and now, quick stopover in Cincinnati. On the way to New York, we're gonna get all into the trip to Cincinnati, all the excitement and build up for that football game and everything that went down. But before we do that, I want to get some plugs in out of the way, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
First of all, for all of you dirtballs out there that are Prime Video subscribers or dirtballs who are thinking about subscribing to Prime Video, I will be on 2 Amazon Prime Video sports talk shows tomorrow. I am doing Game Breakers and The Backup Plan. So if you guys have Prime Video, or if you just want to see me talking some sports on some Amazon Prime sports shows, go ahead and download it, sign up, do all the things so you can watch me on those shows tomorrow here in New York. I'll be, I believe one of them, I believe the Game Breakers is live. I think The Backup Plan will air later tomorrow evening. So check those out. Amazon Prime Video has a lineup of sports talk shows, and your boy is going to go guest on some shows. I'm sure talk about a lot of the things that we're going to talk about from our experience at the Bengals game and whatever else those talented talk show hosts want to talk to me about while I guest. So download it or mark it or record it or tune in live, because I'm doing those tomorrow. I also, for all the dirtballs who have been reaching out about shows here in New York, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I have shows here in New York City. Comedy Cellar tonight on the 11:30 show, hosting the 7 o'clock show at the Stand tomorrow, followed by Comedy Cellar at the Fat Black Pussycat Lounge, followed by Saturday, the Village Underground, and Sunday, the Village Underground, both for the Comedy Cellar. So you can go to the Comedy Cellar sites and look for me on those shows and come check it out. And then, of course, as I will again remind you guys tomorrow or later in the show, Vegas later on this month, Wilmington, North Carolina, Sketchfest, all those things. But come to a show in New York City and search for the Amazon Prime Video Sports block and check me out on 2 of those shows tomorrow.
So basically, if you have Prime, you can watch that.
Yeah. And if you don't have Prime, you can get it. Go get it. Go get Prime.
Who doesn't have Prime?
Yeah.
All right. Like if it's 2023 and you don't have Prime, what are you doing with your life?
This is like I feel like this is not just about Amazon, but also how Deion Sanders recruits people to Colorado. If you don't have, it's 2023, you don't have Prime. What's really going on in your life?
I mean, that'd be a great recruitment pitch. Yeah. You know,
he's like, you going to UCLA? You going to USC? Then you don't got Prime. Subscribe to Prime.
He really should have some sort of endorsement deal with them.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's a perfect match made in heaven.
The multi-million dollars that he got to go to Colorado to leave Jackson State in the dust is not enough. He should have. He was the original one. He's like, I'm the original Prime Video. Me high stepping 40 yards too early. Prime Video.
Well, I would say if he wasn't coaching, he would have been perfect for their Thursday night games.
Yeah.
What do you make of that crew?
The Thursday night crew?
It's an interesting crew. You have Sherman, you have Fitz, Andrew Whitworth, and Tony Gonzalez, and what is it? What's Carissa Thompson?
Yeah. I mean, I like Whitworth a lot. We know at this point, Fitz is my boy. Like I've grown. I went from being just like a Fitz truther to like now a Fitz fan. And Sherman is great. He's not afraid to give his opinion.
Does anyone hate Russell Wilson more than Richard Sherman?
Probably the guys who are on that defense who didn't make millions of dollars. Like probably the other guys who are like, no one even wants to talk to me. They're like, hey, I also hate Russ. And they're like, yeah, but we don't know your name, bro.
Like he wakes up and he chooses Russell Wilson violence every single day.
Yeah. Every day he gets up and he's like, coffee, breakfast, Russell Wilson slander, get dressed, Russell Wilson slander. And you know me, I'm here for it.
Well,
It's funny because that was your boy originally. What really drew you in to becoming a Seahawks fan. You got that Richard Sherman jersey back in the day.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I've always been a fan of his.
You loved the Richard Sherman interview. That was original. That was like early Dirty Sports. You were like, "This is my dude."
Well, I like him because he's real.
And then he pulled you into Seahawks life. And then as you became a Seahawks fan, you started crushing on Russ. Little did you know, the guy who actually brought you into that Seahawks life hated your new crush the whole time.
Well,
awkward for you. Like
it is interesting.
Like a child of divorced parents.
I mean, look, I was a fan of his realness, his rawness. Little did I know Russ is the exact opposite.
Yeah.
There really isn't anything real about him.
Yeah, Richard Sherman would never have a Subway sandwich deal because none of the ingredients are real.
Which, by the way, have you seen the latest Subway commercial? With so they have let's see, they have Steph, they have Mahomes, they have Romo. Who else is in that? Is Brady in that one?
He might be. Yeah, they went big.
They went huge. I know it's Steph, Mahomes, Romo. I don't know if Barkley's in that one. But like they went for some, they're really, really making a push.
Yeah.
To put some money into this. And I don't think they're convincing anybody, for the record.
No, because it's too hard to overcome what's already out there.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
And Jersey Mike's is like, hey, Danny DeVito just woke up from a nap. We're going to have him do a commercial. And
you're like, I'd rather buy sandwiches from Danny DeVito than go into Subway and be like, hey, yeah, could I get some of the genetically modified tuna wrapped in a yoga mat? And they're like, yeah, you can. That's actually our specialty sandwich.
This is the final week, man. You got a 1-point lead.
Yeah. Is it the final week? We don't, I mean, at this point, and I guess this is where we jump into it.
Yeah. So lots happened since last episode.
We have a chance if this comes down to a 1-game thing where we might have a week 19 1 game for the whole shebang. Because we still don't know what's going on with the NFL. I mean, I guess it seems as though things are proceeding as planned for this weekend.
This weekend is going as planned. The finish or whatever's going to happen with the Bengals Bills is still up in the air.
Right.
They're gonna finish that game. I assume there's too many implications. There's too much money. There's too much at stake, I think.
Yeah.
That's just what I feel.
So obviously we were at the game on Monday night where Damar Hamlin was injured, and that injury and the aftermath and everything. And we'll go through what we saw and the scene at the stadium. But that's thrown the NFL scheduling for sure for a loop. I mean, I think so far in terms of that, how they're proceeding. And we'll talk about the specific proceeding after the injury and everything. But I think what is a smart move is to play this week's games as scheduled, because it will determine a lot. Like the Bengals can still win their division by beating the Ravens and lock themselves into at least this seed. And like, there will be a lot of stuff that will still get worked out. I mean, if the Kansas City Chiefs win their game, they're the 1 seed no matter what, right?
Well, pending Bills Bengals.
Right. So, well, there will be, but basically there will be, and if the Chiefs were to lose,
they could, the NFL, if they don't finish the game, if the NFL just says it's just those teams play 16 games, they could do winning percentage.
Right. Okay.
And I don't know if that makes the Bills the 1 seed if the Bills win this week.
So
There's definitely a
opinion.
lot at stake.
Basically, what I said, to me, it seemed obvious. There was two options here, and the first one is closing that gap between the Super Bowl, extending the regular season out a week. Those teams play in week what would be 19. The other thing would be some sort of tie or no game, and yeah, you go to winning percentage. Everything other than that seems like it's out of the realm of possibilities.
Yeah, I agree. Well, obviously we were at the game Monday, and personally, like, I can't stop thinking about it. It was, let's just start from the beginning of the game, or let's just start like before the game started. I said there was so much fanfare. This is your first time at a Bengals game at Paycor Stadium, formerly Paul Brown Stadium.
I loved the scene.
You felt the energy.
I loved the scene around the stadium. We made our way through. I don't even know. Like, do you go there enough? Like that down below the street parking lot that we were in first? Is it like? Do they call that something? Is that the
I don't know a name, but that
tailgate jungle or something?
Yeah, it's a regular tailgate area.
It was cool. That was interesting. We made it over to the Bengals gym tailgate where the inflatable Joe Burrow was. That was crazy. It was almost too many people there for seemingly all of our comforts. Just too much going on, packed into too small an area. Anthony Munoz came by. It was wild, but you could tell. And I said this to you. Giants tailgating is not great, and part of that is, and Kyle Aronofsky talked about it when he called in, but it's so hard to get in and out of the stadium there. It's just not great. It's too spread out. I actually liked how packed in everything was. Bengals gym's thing was a little bit too packed in, but it was a great scene. And the other thing I said to you was what to me felt so energetic about the place was both of these teams really haven't been there like with regularity recently. So you have two teams that are still in contention for the 1 seed late in the season. Like, my team has been down the last few years, but like Giants fans don't really get too hyped, especially for a regular season game. Maybe a home playoff game, which we haven't played that many of, even during the Eli Manning Super Bowl runs. I think we had one in those 2 runs. So it was a scene of professional football tailgating that I've never experienced. It felt like a college rivalry football atmosphere. And we were just so hyped. And I obviously had no rooting interest in the game, but I was like, man, both groups of fans are hyped.
Yeah, the energy is palpable.
We were in the stadium, and I said this to Randy Ruther as I was sitting next to him. We were in the stadium early. I mean, we were probably in our seats a half hour early.
Yeah.
A lot of people in their seats a half hour early.
Sure.
The people were ready to watch this football game. And that's what's the craziest part about everything that happened. It was so early in the game. It was the third drive of the game.
I think that's really important for people to understand, as far as being there live. Like the energy before the game they did, and I know you posted this, they have a whole thing where you download the Bengals app and everybody held up their phones for lights, and that simultaneously went on with a light show that they did at the stadium which was orange, and the whole stadium was lit, literally and figuratively. I had in the pregame warmups when they were doing that and they were announcing the Bengals players and they were doing the ruler of the jungle, which was the late 80s, early 90s Bengals SWAT team did it. Like, I had goosebumps. And I said to both you and Randy Ruther, the only 2 games I've ever had like legit goosebumps during pregame introductions was the infamous Rams Chiefs game, the 2018 regular season 55-51 shootout, I think was the score, which we went to, which was also a Monday Night Football game. Like that game, I also had goosebumps because you could feel the energy. And this game, These were the two games where I had goosebumps just as a sports fan, because you're like, holy shit, this energy and the
And
emotion.
do you remember that game that we went to? That was supposed to be in Mexico City.
Correct.
And they canceled it in Mexico City and they brought it here. And it was this mad rush to get in. We get in to go to that game. And that ended up being a legendary Monday Night Football game. And I agree with you 100%. The game, being in the stadium for Monday Night Football in Cincinnati, had the exact same feel. You were like, we're about to see something really special.
Exactly.
And the Bengals open the game. They throw a bomb on the first play of the game. A bomb. Like,
before that, they won the toss and they accepted it. Nobody does that.
Yeah.
Nobody accepts when they win the toss. They said, we want the ball because we're going to go down and score.
And they open the game with drop back, straight fly, Jamar Chase, don't look at anybody else, bomb to my number one. It was a Madden play call. It was the Genesis Madden. C to snap, C to pull up your receivers, C to throw a bomb. And it was an incredible start to the game. The Bengals go down and they score a touchdown. The Bills have a drive that it went right down the field again.
Pretty seamlessly.
Yep. And then there was a bend but don't break field goal once they got into the red zone. And we're at 7-3. And the Bengals get the ball back. And the Bengals are driving again. Right down, like they're already over across midfield. Big crossing route. T. Higgins play. He gets tackled. And this is where the incident happens and game over. But we've all seen the video at this point. I know they weren't showing it a lot. I'm assuming everybody's seen it that listens to this show, the type of people that go and search for it. They weren't showing it, I know, when we finally got home. But we saw the replay even on our phones while we were there. He T. Higgins kind of goes into him at the end of the play. He takes a shot to the chest, helmet to the chest, goes down, gets up, and Randy Ruther pointed it out to us the second it happened. He goes, he just fell down. And I was like, what? And
because Hamlin got up and he fell down, and I think he made a comment to me. He's like, did he shred a knee or something? Where did his knee just buckle?
Yeah, because he went down flat.
He went down flat, and I don't know. It's. I think we all have different perspectives. My perspective is going to be different because I'm dead sober.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. I felt like people have been drinking. I mean, like, you guys were crushing the Miller Lights, and the dirt balls were great. I want to shout out all the dirt balls real quick who we met at the tailgate.
Well, let's do that after.
Okay.
Let's talk about this. Let's
okay.
We'll shout out all those guys after.
So I don't know if you could hear what I was saying to Justin. Like when they ran out, I don't know. Like I'm not trying to say like I knew, but I did. When they ran out so quickly, I said right away, Justin, I go, this is really serious. I go, they're sprinting, because it was multiple people sprinting.
Yeah. So I told you this when we were at the game, and I tweeted this, and it's crazy to me. And it's now my first professional football game, I believe. I think I maybe gotten to one or two more before that, but one of the very first games I ever went to was the Dennis Byrd injury. I was at the Meadowlands for the Dennis Byrd injury, which is probably way before a lot of Dirtballs years, but you guys can Google it. Dennis Byrd was paralyzed in a game at the Meadowlands. I believe it was Jets Chiefs. Ran into a guy, neck injury, down. Obviously, medicine's come a long way and technology's come a long way, but even in the time since then, like, I've been around a surprising number of major injuries at football games that I've gone to. And the thing that shocked me about this was the speed that they had an ambulance on the field. I was like, this is something I've never seen. I was like,
Yeah.
You always think when there's in football, you always think when an ambulance is coming out on the field that there's been a spine injury, that there's
Correct.
been a neck injury, right? That's in your brain as a football fan. If you're around football enough, it's the worst thing that can happen. Knees happen, broken ribs happen, guys get knocked unconscious. But when you see an ambulance go on the field, that tends to mean it's not going to be safe enough for us to put a guy on a backboard and put him on a cart and drive him out of here. This is a spinal injury. And the speed with which the ambulance was on the field, I was like, this must be a spinal injury like nothing we've ever seen. Because when I say it was 5 times faster than an ambulance got on the field during the Dennis Byrd injury, I mean, there was an ambulance on the field there, I would say within a minute and a half, like 2 minutes. Like the ambulance was out there immediately.
Yeah. And just to describe the vibe, we talked about the energy before the game, the opening couple drives. You could hear a pin drop.
Light switch, turned off the energy.
70,000 people. We like people knew how serious it was. Obviously, we didn't know to the level. And you're right. The ambulance came out so quickly that,
there was a lot of things that happened that I think no one had seen before. Even people who have gone to a lot of football games like myself, I had never seen a medical team gesturing. The first medical guy who got out there looked, and the gesturing to get the ambulance. The only thing that I can remember ever seeing like that was when Lawrence Taylor hit Joe Theismann. And he was the one. He heard the snap and he was like, let's go. Get out here with medical assistance, because he knew right away he had broken his leg. I have never seen, like, you see players do that from time to time, but when somebody in the medical team goes out there and then they're dressing like that, you're like, what could be so serious that this guy can't handle the situation until somebody goes and, facilitates more help. And the other moment that really, I think, was what changed the game in terms of what we were seeing. And I replied to somebody on Twitter while we were there, and it ended up being seen by so many people because literally no one knew what was happening. You and I were getting texts from people watching at home on Monday Night Football, and we obviously don't know how that was covered. Like, I've heard about how it was covered. Oh, they went to commercial and people are talking about it and they're not showing the scene or whatever. But the other thing was, at some point, so both teams, to let you guys know what we were seeing in the stands, both teams were obviously concerned. The Bills had circled around their player. And I don't know if that was part of the coaching staff saying, hey, let's put a circle around him to make sure no one can see what's going on, or if it was just straight up concern for their teammate. But I mean, they had him fully encircled. So we really couldn't see what was going on inside the circle of players. At some point, and people saw this on TV, a bunch of players physically reacted to something. And when they started, oh my God, and guys like walked away, that was where, at least from my seat, I got a crack in the circle and I could see they were doing CPR.
Well,
and that was when I was like, oh my God, this is not a spine injury. This guy's your CPR is cardiac arrest.
yeah. So I saw the chest compressions, and I don't know if you were in your own world, and I said out loud, I said, they're doing chest compressions. And Justin was like, what? I don't think he knew what was going on. And to be fair, and then somebody else in the section was like, what? And I was like, this guy's dying. And that was tough, man. I think you're right. I think once people started to grasp that, or like you said, there was cracks where you could see.
Because when that started happening, when they started doing chest compressions, I think that's when players on the field realized what was happening. And that's when we saw you've seen the video of people like turning away from the scene and walking away to cry. And I had put a story on my Instagram, like you said, of the pregame. And when people started seeing what was going on TV, I started getting messages, yo, like update us. And I was like, update you? I'm sitting here watching it happen. Like, you guys, like, they must be telling you something on TV. And they weren't until at some point, I guess they said they did 9 minutes of CPR on him. And now we obviously have the story about, all the things that have gone down, a little bit more of a clearer timeline. But for us, we saw the injury. We saw how quickly they responded. We saw chest compressions. We saw him put in an ambulance, taken off the field. And then we were told that the game would be suspended or temporarily suspended. That's what they told us immediately. And I said to Justin, the second that happened, I said, we could leave right now. I said, they're not stopping this game and restarting it. They're just not. And I knew that. But in, true NFL fashion, I was not surprised that the idea was being presented that they might continue. And there's differing reports on whether or not the NFL tried to continue the game. But I knew in that moment, and I told Justin, I said, there is 0% chance once they said we're going to hold the game, even momentarily, that the teams, forget what the league says, that these teams are going to come back on the field.
We all saw Zach Taylor walk over to Sean McDermott and talk. We all saw that across the field. I don't know. I've thought a lot about this. I was like pretty stunned. I was pretty emotional. It was tough for me. I don't know anybody listening, if you've seen chest compressions, it's tough because someone's literally going to live or die. And that's the third time I'd ever seen that. I'm sorry, the fourth time in my life. And the last two have been my parents, literally, when they died. So like that hit me really hard. That was tough to watch. I was pretty emotional in the stadium, and I just froze because I didn't know what to do. I didn't look at my phone. I was just like in a blank stare. I just was like, what is happening? Is this real? Because it's, you think about that, right? Like you think am I watching someone die? It's not easy.
And for me, I was, like I said, it's remarkably weird when you go through the Dennis Byrd injury. I've been to college football games where there's a major spine injury. I've been at this game. It's remarkably weird how many of these like devastatingly serious situations I've witnessed in person. I like awkwardly joked to Justin that I was like, is this me? Is this my fault? Like, we got the million messages like, you guys are there. This is crazy. And I'm like, is this me? I said to him, I was like, I feel weird how many of these I've experienced at this point. Like, I'm sure there's people that have gone to 10 times the amount of football games that I've been to that haven't seen like crazy historic injuries. So I was like numbed. I was like, here we go again. And then there was when they started doing chest compressions, what immediately came to my mind was, when I coached high school baseball in California, this was something that was talked about and we had to prepare for and we had to train for every year. So we had to carry a defibrillator with us to every game by California state law. And we had to know how to do CPR as coaches. We had to train every year to do CPR and every year how to use a defibrillator. And the reason was exactly what a lot of people are saying probably happened, and I'm not a doctor, but I've seen it, and it's immediately where my head went. Is we were trained that in baseball specifically, if you get hit in the chest, your heart can stop. And so as baseball coaches, it was like, hey, be aware. This is something that happens. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, you can get hit in the chest with a ground ball or a pitch or whatever, and your heart can stop. And you guys need to know that if you see this, you need to be able how to recognize what just happened. You need to be able to go out there and perform CPR, and you need to know how to use this defibrillator. And I was just, when we were sitting there and we were watching him get chest compressions, and then we finally got to see video of it via our phones, I was like, this is what happened. This is exactly what they told me could happen. I was like, I've never witnessed this before in my life, but I've been told 5 years of coaching, like every year they're like, this happens. And I was like, does it? And then I was like, oh my God, this is that thing. And it was crazy because in that moment, when I realized that, and I was putting together they're doing chest compressions, I was like, oh my God. Like you said, this guy could die on the field, which we've talked about on the show before. In a sense, not to be morbid, but we have said this is probably going to happen at some point in the NFL.
Yeah, we have.
And how is it going to be handled?
Yeah, and I guess I don't know if the word's ominous about, but like we've said that, but I think we both thought it would be a head injury.
Yeah.
Like I didn't expect this, and you don't think about this. And I don't think anybody would have thought about this, where a direct blow to the chest can stop your heart. But I mean, it was a really, really just awful thing to be there at. I mean, I'll be honest, like it sucked. And obviously you just feel for, Damar and his family, and it's just awful.
Well, I said this, and I sort of spoke it out loud. It wasn't directed at Justin or you or whatever, but there was my feelings on it. And you said it to me, actually, I think when we were back home that night, or maybe the morning after. You said, the fans, everybody can pretend, they can all clutch their pearls and whatever. But you even said about yourself, you're like, if they had played that game, I would have stayed. And yeah. I said out loud at the game, I even said it out loud. I was like, man, if I hadn't flown here for this game, I'd already be gone. Like I was like, and I said it to Justin as like, first of all, this game's not coming back on. I was like, it's not. Once they stopped it, the coaches aren't going to let it come back on. And that ended up being what happened. But even before that announcement, I was like, if it weren't this thing that Jed getting the tickets and Gold Star and me flying to Cincinnati just to go to this game, like if I was at the Meadowlands for this game, I'm out the door, because it's like, what are we talking about? The idea, and my manager was looking at my Twitter during it, and she said, you sound kind of annoyed. And in a way, I was obviously very concerned, but I was kind of annoyed. It's like, what are we even still doing here? Like, the people here, maybe the people at home don't know, but the people here know. They were doing chest compressions on this guy. Like, put up on the board, some guy almost died, go home. Because it was, what got awkward to me was the fact that we were standing there, and then we were in this situation where it was like, are we playing a football game? And I think every response online of like, why are we even thinking about that, is the correct one, because this isn't it. That was insane. And I'm glad that it didn't end up continuing. As much as it sucked for everybody that was there to leave the game, and for people that have traveled there. And I saw 1 million Bengals fans in the airport and 1 million Bills fans. Nothing is more important than a kid who may or may not have actually died on the field and been revived.
Yeah. Well, I've thought a lot about this. Like it hit me really hard when it was happening. And then I was thinking, and I obviously said that, I was like, dude, I would have went from crying to watching a football game. So I don't know what that says about me. Like that's just something I got to figure out. I literally that's what would have happened. And I'm at least accepting that if they had finished the game, I would have watched. And that's why I'm not going to sit here and kind of chide decisions this or that way, because I know I would have stayed. I mean, I don't even know what to say, that I would have been a wreck emotionally, then been like, okay, now I'm going to watch a football game. I don't know what that says about myself, but I think that's something that as fans, I think we all need to kind of look into ourselves, because what's happened now is that all these other questions that have just been circling around the NFL that we've talked about many times on our show are now at the forefront of safety, of player benefits, of how much do they really care. And by that, I mean the NFL is in the owners, the commissioner, whatever it is. But I think the fans, I think we need to take a look at ourselves. That's all I'm going to say. Like, I love the NFL. I do. I love it. We all know how much I love it.
Well, you love the sport. And
I love the sport.
And you love, obviously the NFL does a great job in marketing. NFL does a great job of putting their game at the forefront. And the NFL has taken over Sunday, and then they took over Monday, and then they took over Thursday. And the NFL is a behemoth. And, there's a couple of things. I don't want to say there are silver linings, because obviously there is no silver lining in what happened on Monday. But I think some things that happened in the aftermath are beneficial to the game going forward. And there was a response online. And obviously we have the famous Skip Bayless tweet that's become all the rage. And we don't want to give that too much attention. But there was a lot of sentiment online from TV personalities and just fans in general about like what happens now, right? And the reaction by athletes was the correct one. And I think the reaction by the teams on the field was the correct one, which is in some way, in some regard, fans, whether they be fantasy owners, gamblers, or just super fans of teams that are fighting for a playoff spot, in some regard, fans care about the outcome of these games, the specifics of it, more than the players do. Because the players are out there, they're doing their job, and we've always said, put your life on the line. This is obviously proof that they've put their life on the line. But many of them, like 95% of them are certainly putting their health on the line. Like, everybody gets hurt at some point. It's just a matter of how seriously. And, Tom Brady's been hurt once in his career, and he shredded his knee, and he came back, and he's played 20 more years after that. Dude, his knee isn't ever going to be healthy the way it was before that. Take it from somebody who you get a knee injury and you recover. You still think about that every day. I still think about my knee injury every single day. So these guys put their health on the line. And I think what it showed in that moment is that the players that were on the field, and Stephon Diggs taking an Uber to see his teammate and whatever, is like, for them, it's a job. It's a way to provide for their families. And obviously they're all competitors. But in that moment, two teams full of guys, I can guarantee you 100% of the players on both teams did not want to play football after that. There wasn't one guy who's like, I'm ready to kill out there again. You're like, no. 100% of the guys were like, we're done for tonight. And we saw that's what happened. The NFL may or may not have tried to restart the game. The players and their coaches were like, we're not doing that. That's not happening. So I think that's one thing. And the other thing, and I hate this aspect of this injury, but this is a second-year player who's making nothing compared to Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady and elite players in this league. And in a way, you obviously, we're not wishing this injury on anybody. But if this had happened to, let's say, Patrick Mahomes, okay, it would be, this is already the biggest story ever, but it would be obviously infinitely bigger if it happened to a player of that magnitude. But you could say, God, man, Patrick Mahomes is fighting for his life, but he's leaving whatever, millions of dollars on line. This kid makes nothing compared to those guys. He is by no means set for life. He is in no way will his family be taken care of should this go wrong. Or should he not be? Should he fully recover and not be able to play football again? Then what? You know? And I think that this injury, if there's any positive that comes out of this, it's that the NFL has to take a long look at itself in the mirror and say, if this can happen to anybody on the field, shouldn't those guys be taken care of one way or the other? Should contracts be guaranteed? Should pensions be different? Should pensions start immediately upon taking one hit in the NFL? There's a lot of questions that come about this because you're a young kid, new to the league, hasn't gotten off his rookie contract. And obviously, I'm not a big religious guy, but obviously in some regard, we're all praying for him to recover. But boy, am I worried about even what happens if he does recover. And I think that that's what the NFL needs to take a look at and be like, how are we going to make sure that these guys are taken care of if this could happen anytime? And as players get faster and helmets get harder and pads get smaller, have you seen, go back to like Randy Moss's rookie videos. So like, how do you catch passes in those shoulder pads? Now guys are in less equipment, less protected, with harder helmets on, moving faster. The NFL, this is just like a come to Jesus moment for the NFL. You guys need to make sure that no one can ever call you out for this when this stuff happens. And they should. We've talked about it, the $1 billion Thursday night deal and the multi-billion dollar, Sunday ticket deals and it's like, you're making them money. This should not be something that we are having a conversation about. We should not be having a conversation about what is going to happen to this poor kid when he wakes up, other than the fact that his toy drive has made $5 million.
So I think there's a lot to dissect here. I think there's a lot of things I think that I want to get off my chest. I think people are going to counter to what you're saying. And I'm not even saying I agree. I'm just saying they're going to counter and they're going to say, this is a very violent sport. No one forced these guys to do this. And I know people are going to counter that. And people are going to say these guys are still handsomely paid compared to what the common person makes in our country, in the world, whatever it is. I'll say this to all that. I think those are true. But I think we can find a common ground of taking care of these guys. I think the current situation is you need to play 3 years to have benefits. So sadly, Damar Hamlin does not check that box off, right? This is in a second year. The average NFL player, I had to look this stuff up because I was curious. The average NFL player earns $43,000 a year from pension. It's not that much, guys.
Andy, I know, like we've talked
But
about
I was gonna say I got here's the big problem though. Here's the big problem. Because I'm like, how is this such a bad situation? So I wanted to dig up some things. So before the last NFL Players Association agreement with the NFL, which was the 2020 season, that was not even on the table. A lifelong benefit health-wise. Health insurance was not like, it wasn't even on the table, right? That wasn't even an option to have lifelong health benefits after you retire. And guess what? I learned something that didn't surprise me, which makes me think this is even just a bigger problem. It has nothing to do with the owners, had nothing to do with the players. No insurance company would take on that policy. So that kind of just leaves me scratching my head saying, well,
and I've said this about this league. I've said this about this league before. I've said this about the NFL. You make so much money that there should be, with the amount of money that they make and the amount of rich players, the amount of guys who make so much money after the fact. I mean, you think about what happens to a lot of these athletes. Draymond Green has given one of the biggest donations in the history of Michigan State. You know, Patrick Mahomes, I'm sure, has given God knows how much money to Texas Tech. These guys get so much money, and they are philanthropic about it when they're at the high level, and they cover a lot of things. You know, Draymond Green is thinking about the Michigan State basketball player that may or may not go to the NBA. The NFL should have, even if it's one central location, even if it's in Canton, Ohio, they should have their version of a VA hospital. Forget insurance companies. How about you guys pay doctors to work there straight up out of your own pocket?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And that's something that I've talked about. You know, we've gotten political on this show before, and everybody who's ever listened to this show for any extended period of time knows I am not the biggest fan of the military. And one of the reasons I'm not a huge fan of the military, and I don't do the whole, you know, respect the flag, and I was so outspoken about the Kaepernick thing when it happened, is this. Much like the NFL, the United States military takes advantage of underprivileged young men. They go, yeah, it's a dangerous job, but we're going to pay for college. Just like every NCAA football team. Yeah, it's dangerous, but we're going to pay for college. And then, yeah, it's dangerous in the NFL, but you're going to make some money. And what happens is, just like in the NFL, the military has their version of guys go out there and they go into the war game and they come back with PTSD, or they come back with some injury they sustained, and the VA is shitty. It's shitty. And so you're going, you guys trot out here every year, every election cycle, and you shame us into supporting you. And then we do. And what do? Do you support the guys that we're supporting financially? No. You make them jump through every friggin' hoop, and guys are on the street with mental illness, and guys are on the street with PTSD. And just like concussions in the NFL, the military pretended PTSD wasn't a thing for 40 years. And what the NFL needs to do, just like what the military needs to do, is like, yeah, you can go out there and say, this is a dangerous game, and no one forced you to do it. And you're going to be paid handsomely to do it. But what I demand as a fan, you better take care of those guys then if something happens.
Well,
it's just that simple.
Then I'll pose this, because I've thought about this. I think you're actually hitting on what I was about to say. Nothing's going to change until the fans care. I'm sorry, guys. Nothing's going to change. Nothing. Like, as far as taking care of the players, because at the end of the day, we've always said the only thing the NFL cares about is money. Bottom line. Like, from a business sense, they run an amazing bottom line business. Like that's what they run. If you wanted to know how to run a business, follow the NFL model. If your one goal in life is making money and giving zero fucks, the NFL is where you start because they have that model down. They're not going to change until people stop watching, until people stop playing fantasy, until people stop gambling.
And that's the thing. Again, it's
and that's why I asked that, because it's like, for me, that's why I'm like, it's really tough because I love this sport. That's why I said everybody's got to think, could you give it up? Could you give up watching on Sunday? Could you give up attending games?
That's why the thing is, and again, I don't want to say silver line. There's no silver line. There's no positive in this. And whenever I start thinking about this, and whenever I start talking about this with everybody that I've talked to about it since Monday, and being nervous about coming on to do this podcast today, is like, the first thing, no matter what we've talked about here, all the various topics that we've talked about in regards to this situation, every thought starts with, there's a fucking kid in the hospital still. And first and foremost, like, holy shit, I hope that kid is okay. Like, I hope that kid is more than okay. I hope he's full recovery. God knows if he'd ever fucking want to play football again, but I hope to whatever's up there, or whoever's out there, whoever's whatever, I hope to wherever, that it's something that he has to make a decision about. I hope he gets to make that decision. I hope they say, you're healthy and you're fine and you're fixed and you could play football again. I hope he has to make that decision. God knows if he would ever consider it, but I hope he gets to make that decision. But if there is something that could in the long term be a positive here, is this happened on Monday Night Football in the fucking game of the year. And we're all talking about it. And we're all talking about, how does the NFL handle this? And how does the NFL be better about this going forward? And, when you talk in baseball about moments that change the game, there's Jackie Robinson, but there's also Curt Flood, the first free agent. Change the game. This moment is going to change the game. And this kid is going to be the face of that. And when he recovers and he is healthy, this could be his legacy. And that's amazing, because the NFL needs that to change. They've needed it to change for a long time. We've seen other players have severe injuries, and it happened on a Sunday afternoon, or it happened, not in a game that didn't matter as much. And this is, everybody's talking about it. And obviously there's 10% of people who are like some shithead response to what happened, but 90% of people are like, yo, now we need to talk about this.
I hope something changes, but like I said, I'm not trying to be pessimistic. I just don't think anything changes unless it affects their bottom line and fans demand a change. That's just me trying to be real with the situation. Now, the Bills released a statement that said he's doing better. Like, I'll be honest, I don't know what to make of all that stuff. I don't know if they're just trying to be positive. Like for me, so he's on a ventilator. So like, I dealt with this twice now, and I know how that news goes. You take the smallest sliver of improvement, because you have to be positive. You, like, when you're talking about someone's life, you have to be positive. So I don't know. I hope he's doing better. But I just know, like, that road is a long road back. The whole thing is just awful. It's awful. But the crazy part, Joe, not many people left until, and I had that conversation with there was
group sitting behind us. And this woman said, they're going to restart the game. Not are they going to restart the game? The way she posed it is, they are going to restart the game, right? Question mark.
I couldn't stand her, for the record.
And I said to her immediately, no, they're not going to. And I know that because they wouldn't have stopped in the first place. That was when I knew. Because if I know anything about the NFL didn't want the game. They didn't want the first pause, if I know anything about the NFL. But we saw the coaches get together and we saw the teams go to the locker room. And I got to think that was on those coaches making that decision. And once that happened, I knew we were going to restart. Because you know why? Never happened before. They never did it before. Games have stopped for lightning. Games have stopped for whatever. They didn't walk off the field because somebody got injured, ever. And in that moment, I knew this is different than anything that's ever happened before, ever. And we're not going to restart this game. And honestly, what made me think was the way she posed it. Why do you want this game to restart? And that's where I think you're right, which is if that's the attitude right after it happened, even for some people, that we're going to still have a tough fight in terms of getting the NFL to openly admit and come to grips with the fact that this could happen. It's amazing it hadn't happened before this, essentially.
Yeah, I just know being there 30 minutes after it happened, that stadium's 90% full still. Like we didn't leave. Nobody left. It's just now part of it was probably people like, this is, you don't want to leave because what is happening. Never have any of us heard a quieter exit though. I mean, the bathrooms exiting the stadium, the concourse outside the stadium, that energy went from 100 to just silence.
I mean, multiple people messaged me. They said, what is the scene? I said, awake. Not awake, wake.
Yeah, funeral.
It was. Yeah.
Like people weren't even talking.
No.
When people were exiting the stadium, nobody was talking. Never seen anything like that. But they're playing this week, man. The Bills are playing this week. The Bengals are playing this week. Now there's something to be said. I don't, people handle this stuff differently. I will never make fun of anyone for saying they want to get back and play. I'll never make fun of somebody who said, I can't play. It kind of reminds me of your favorite movie, Top Gun. There's the line, you got to get Maverick back up there. So some people heal emotionally by going back to doing what they do. Right. And when it comes to life and death, people handle it differently. Everybody handles it differently. Some people like to work through it. Some people like to take time off. I don't know, but obviously this year has been changed forever, the rest of this season, and hopefully for the better, like you said, a silver lining, the NFL on how things are handled, on how players are taken care of. And look, I'm not sitting here trying to gripe about little things because all donations are good. But if anything tells me how NFL owners are, seeing what I would deem insignificant donations to his charity, to me, says it all. Dude, if you're worth $1 billion and you donate $10,000, am I a dick for saying I think you're kind of an asshole for that?
Well, listen.
I don't know. Like people could say, Andy, it's $10,000. What are you bitching about?
I'll tell you this.
You're worth $1 billion.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this. I have a weird thing about numbers, like I get whatever. So his number is 3. I'm not going to go donate $3 to his thing, right? And sadly, I'm not Robert Kraft, so I couldn't donate $333 as much as I would have loved to. So I donated $33. Okay. If I can if Robert Kraft donated the same portion of his net worth as I did, he would have donated $3 million. So, no, it's not wrong to say, hey, Robert Kraft, you're an asshole. But that's why we're in this situation, Andy.
Well, that's my point. As far as like all this changing, I just, it's like any tragedy we see. How many thoughts and prayers with no action ever, ever, ever? That's like the motto of our country at this point. And Anthony Jeselnik, didn't he have a whole special around the thoughts? And it's like things will never, but again, things never change unless people force it to change.
And again, I hate having to say that
let me ask you this.
Some positive, but the fact that this happened in week 17 in a nationally televised game, in the game of the year, this is now, if this happened in week 2, it might not be the number one thing we talk about during the Super Bowl. This year, during this Super Bowl, this will be talked about a lot. And when you talk about things that happen at the Super Bowl that is watched by everybody around the world, there are going to be people in other countries who don't know about this story until the Super Bowl. There are going to be people in our country who don't really follow sports. Oh, yeah, I think I heard about something about that. Oh, it was a cardiac arrest. It wasn't, he didn't like get, this isn't just some injury. The fact that this happened in week 17 and is going to affect the schedule, affect the playoffs in terms of who may or may not play X amount of games and whatever, who may or may not be seated somewhere. This will be a story for the rest of the NFL season. Whereas we've seen the NFL, it's a train that just keeps it running. If this happened in week 2, I don't know that we're talking about it on this show. I don't know if it's mentioned briefly on this show that's about to preview week 18 if it happened in week 2. But happening in week 17 on Monday Night Football, we will talk about this situation every episode till the end of the year. And that's good because that's what needs to happen. It needs to be part of this conversation for the rest of the football season. And that's where you get a glimpse of a hope that the NFL changes for the better.
But again, I'll pose this to you just like I'm going to pose it to everybody listening. And I think we actually had this conversation an episode or 2 ago. Sadly, ironically, whatever you want to call it, what would it take to get you to stop watching the NFL? I literally watched somebody almost die on the field. I still don't think I'd stop watching the NFL. Again, I don't know what that says about me. I'm being honest with myself. I love the sport that much.
Well, listen, the closest I ever came to not watching the NFL was a few years ago when Trump was still in office and he announced right before the season started that he would be working with the NFL to punish players who didn't stand. And I said, now we have reached.
Yeah, but I think that was all just
grandstanding by him.
Yes.
Right. But there was a moment where the NFL said, the NFL hinted that players would be punished. And to me, I was like, no. This is now we're crossing a line into serious, like, rights violations, serious treatment of people as if they are not human beings that are allowed to have opinions. That to me was the closest I ever came. And then I don't know if you remember, but it was a sort semi last minute before the season started announcement. And the NFL said, we will not be punishing anybody for pregame anthem stuff. And I said, okay, there were some of us who had a half foot out the door. And this is that moment again where it's being presented where the NFL has a chance to fuck it up more than they've already fucked it up or a chance to fix it. And if they hint that they're going to fuck it up, like they hinted like they were going to fuck that up, it's not going to be a lot of people, but some people will walk away. And again, this is precisely what I talked about with that situation, Andy. Do not make, if the NFL has any brains, do not do not do a short-term fix. Because the long-term issue here, just like the issue I said about the anthem, is the long-term issue here is if you're a young kid or the parent of a young football player and you see this happen and you don't see them change, whether it be guaranteed salaries or guaranteeing care for these guys should they get hurt, you are not going to let your kid play. Fans, the NFL should be less worried about the fans because, like you said, most fans aren't going to leave. The long-term problem is players. Where are you going to get players when you say, we're not going to care for you? We can fire you if you have a bad opinion. It's going to be harder and harder to convince young people to do it. So their long-term issue is make sure if you're a dad of a kid who wants to play football, that you know you're not setting him up for a life where he's literally treated like trash, expendable trash that can be crumpled up and thrown out.
Yeah. Now, there's no doubt in my mind that the NFL wanted to play the game that night. You know, we see all the reports. I just based on what I think I know about the NFL, and again, the bottom line. But I'm really glad that the players and the coaches stepped up.
Now the NFL is saying that they never made that. Like we just both agree that they're lying.
I think they're just straight up lying.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Joe Buck saying we've been in contact with the NFL. ESPN's been a long running partner with the NFL for how long? They're not giving ESPN bad information on that. They're just not. The NFL is just lying. And I heard Troy Vincent. I don't know if you heard the audio of him crying. I don't buy it. You didn't? So I heard. So he's on a call and he's crying. I don't buy it. Sorry.
He's on a call after the fact or the night of or what?
And he's crying, saying, no way did we want to continue this game and blah, blah, blah. And he's crying. And I'm like, dude, this is theater to me. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm an asshole. I just think based on what I know about the NFL and how they've treated players.
That's the one thing I'm going to say. The one other thing I'm going to say about the experience of us being there. Again, I don't know. I've heard a lot from people. I was texting with Pete Sestaro during the game. I was texting with my manager during the game or during the break in the game about what they were seeing on TV versus what we were seeing. Okay. And I know that part of what was seen on TV is this conversation in the tunnel that seemed to be about whether or not to go back on. During that conversation, and correct me if you think I'm wrong here, during the time that conversation was apparently going on, would you say that in the stadium, based on the movements of the people that were by the tunnels and by whatever, do you believe that they were preparing to play that game again? Because to me, we got to a point where things started moving around as if,
yes,
we're going to play this game again.
Well, I said that. I think they're going to try to play this.
And that is where I think Troy Vincent can say what he said. Joe Buck can say what he said. ESPN can say what he said. Roger Goodell can say what he said. But we were there and they stopped. And then parts started moving. Like they were going to play that game again. And it was happening simultaneously with people texting me. They're in the tunnel. Coaches are talking. Somebody from the NFL is there. Diggs isn't coming back on. He's already in a towel. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, Diggs better put on pants because they're starting this game up. And then clearly to anybody who has all of the information. The coaches were like, no, we're not. We're not playing.
Well, and that's what Zach Taylor said in his press conference yesterday. That when he went over to Sean McDermott said, I'm not coaching this game anymore. I got to be with my guy at the hospital. And like, that's when they knew. And kudos to the coaches, you know.
Well, that's the thing I think where we started part of this conversation, and I'm glad we've circled back to it. This is their jobs, man. This isn't, I know for a lot of fans, there's nothing more important to them than their football team and their fantasy team or their gambling or whatever. And it's like, we've seen it a million times when somebody makes a joke to a player. Hey, man, you're killing my fantasy team. They'll be like, fuck you. This is our life, dude. And the NFL can push all the buttons and pull all the strings that they want. But in the end, it's always going to be about all of the players. You remember, like, we go back to the Kaepernick thing. When it was one guy, the NFL was like, let's remove him from the league. And then when it was 10 guys in every team, now it says equality in the end zone. It's all about the players have power and the coaches have power. They just don't have it as one or as two. But as soon as you got both of those teams and both those coaches say we're not going back out there, the NFL can put machine guns to them, but they're not playing. You can't play the game without us. And that's what those guys always need to remember. And, you know, sadly, probably more of their agents are in bed with the NFL than they are with, but like, that's something that always needs to be understood by those guys is you guys hold all the power. And it's happened in a lot of other sports where the players have taken the power. And the NFL is maybe the last league where they're like, no one's bigger than us. But you are, because the game can't go on without the players.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been critical of Taylor, but like he really earned a lot of respect from me, how everything was handled. I thought both coaches did a great job. You know, this is more than a football game. This is someone's life. You know, and that's we have to remember that. And I think those coaches clearly knew that. Those players knew that. And I think for me, when people are critical of any of these guys or critical moving forward, I think we still have to have empathy. Like, I've steered clear of most of any online talk. And to be honest, I have not watched the replay. I have not watched the replay of the play. So I just am like, I don't want to be honest. So it's like, these guys do make a lot of money and they do choose it. It doesn't mean you can't have empathy when somebody almost dies in the field. Like these things are not ever mutually exclusive. They don't have to be. It's stupid. You see people, they're soft, or it's like, shut up, dude. You're not in that situation.
Yeah,
you're not in that situation.
And also, honestly, the idea that they make a lot of money, kind of bullshit. It's kind of bullshit. A lot of the guys do. A lot of the guys don't. You can say $236,000 or whatever that Hamlin made this year is a lot of money. Okay. But if you make $80,000 a year for the rest of your life, you make more money than this guy makes being in the NFL for 4 seasons at $236,000. And what's he left with after that? If he shreds his knee, or if he hurts his shoulder, or if he gets poked in the eye, or if anything happens, or if he just gets cut. He made $1 million in his NFL career. It's not a lot of money.
No, not in the long term. It's definitely not.
And there's way more guys that have a rookie deal and never play again, or are on a practice squad, or whatever, than there are Patrick Mahomes,
sure,
or Joe Burrow, or any of them. At this point, when we've talked about it, it's why the quarterback thing has become the quarterback numbers have become such a big issue, and winning on these rookie deals, or how do you pay Mahomes and pay Tyreek Hill? You don't. All this stuff is it's two guys on a team. You're talking about a receiver, a quarterback, maybe an edge rusher. You're talking about a corner on your team or whatever. Like you're talking about a tackle. You're talking about one guy on your line, one guy in your receiving core, your quarterback, one guy on your defensive line, maybe a D-back. Maybe six guys on a team that make over $10 million.
The average NFL career is 3.3 years. So
you know how many years you got to play to get past your rookie deal?
So those are the numbers. 3.3 years.
The average.
It's the average.
So if Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Eli Manning and Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers and Ben Roethlisberger play 20 years, that means you got a lot of ones to cancel those out.
Yeah. I know. There's a lot. Well, I don't have anything else to add to this particular conversation at this point. I think we've kind of exhausted it. You know, there's obviously a lot to say. It'll be interesting watching games this weekend. It'll feel different. But like I said, I mean, I'll be watching. You know, both the Bengals and Bills have a home game.
I've said before, and I'll say again, is this will be a part of every conversation moving forward, in a sense. I mean, you look at my team, right? I'm a Giants fan. I'm a diehard Giants fan. Everybody who listens to the show knows I'm a Giants fan. Last week on this show, maybe even Monday on this show, I was dreaming of the fantasy playoff picture we could have. I don't know if you remember me saying that. If this happens, and the Giants beat the Eagles this weekend, and so, we could be in a situation. Here's the thing. This Hamlin injury affects my fandom of my own team. Last weekend, I was like, if we beat the Eagles. Now I'm like, we shouldn't play anybody against the Eagles. We're locked into the 5 seed. What in God's name was anybody thinking? Of course, as I say about every quarterback. Why would we make guys take hits that they don't need to make? Tyrod Taylor should start. You're locked in the 5. Who cares? You got to beat everybody to win the Super Bowl. We're not playing to get the. Who gives a shit what happens to the Eagles? That's not our problem. That's not our team. That's not our guys. That's not the guys in our locker room.
Yeah.
Let the Eagles do what they do. You just had Daniel Jones take 2 hits at the goal line last week. Don't make him take this week. Let him play 2 series. Make sure he's good. Make sure he gets his work in. Get him out of the game.
Well, you know, games are going to start off on Saturday. I bet they're going to be highly viewed. Like, you know, this is actually going to increase ratings. People are going to be tuning in to see what happens. And we have some big games all weekend long. And sometimes you have to, you know, like I said, sometimes it's good to get back to routine, right? When you deal with tragic events, because it brings back some sort of normalcy. And hopefully that's what happens for these guys. You know, like I said, everyone's different. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes people need time off. But we are going to get to these games. Look, I still love football. I still want to talk football. It's terrible what happened. It's just a tragedy. It just sucks. There's no other way to put it. But, you know, the games are going to go on and we're going to watch them. And we got our own little bet. It's at stake here. And hopefully.
Well, let's do this, Andy, because you had said it. You had said it before. Obviously, what happened after we hung out before the game, but you wanted to shout out some dirt balls. And like, you know, maybe what we can do right now as just a pause in this so that we don't like it's it feels really weird to me to have that conversation and then be like, what's the spread on the game on Saturday? We've got a danger witch bet, right?
I agree.
I think that the thing that we need to remember, and this I think could be the transition back into us making our picks, is that we all love the sport of football. The people who are listening to the show, I assume if you listen to our show, especially with Andy Ruther now being a football only from August to February guy, Donovan Mitchell could score 700 points. Andy Ruther's not putting down the rundown. Being a football only guy is, if you listen to the show, you probably also love the NFL. And I think that the thing that maybe could transition us here back into talking about the games this weekend and a game that we really like watching is a lot of people that watch the NFL never put on a helmet in their life. And what people love about it is the community. What people love about it is, you saw with the Bengals fans there. Bengals fans were hyped for that game because they were with their friends, and they were with their fans, and they were with and that's what we all love about sports in general, which is we love going to the bar and being around our fellow fans and cheering for the game. We love being in the stadium. The experience of watching sports on TV at this point blows away the experience of watching the game itself with your eyes at a stadium. But what you said before watching that game was the chills that you got being there. There's still the part of that gives you chills was all the other people there and the atmosphere and how everybody was like, it was like, you can't recreate that on TV. And so I think that's the thing to remember is, like, sports brings us all together, and it brought a bunch of dirtballs out to the game. We got to see, Jay Lloyd and Stolze and Beat of the Indigo and Jedediah, who came down for the game, and Crypto Ranta and all the dirtballs. If I'm missing anybody, did I forget anybody, Andy? Everybody was there and we got to see all those people, and it sucks that we didn't get to see them after. We didn't get to have beers with them at halftime and whatever. But the reason they were all there is because they listened to our show, and the reason they listen to our show is because we talk about sports. And that's what the best part about sports is, it brings all those people together. And it was awesome to see all those people. And it sucks the way that night ended, because it started out so great. But I think that's the thing to remember while we do all this shit is, like, yeah, it's a game and you don't want to see anybody get hurt playing a game, but also it's so much more than a game.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, look, it was great seeing those guys. I did see a common thread through all that. A positive common thread was the Miller Lite. The Dirtballs are such great Miller Lite supporters. The Miller Lite was flowing at the tailgate. We first met Sarah from Gold Star, her husband, Ryan, who's a Dirtball. They had Miller Lites. You guys brought Miller Lites. All the Dirtballs brought Miller Lites. I mean, you talk about a beer that's bringing friends and family together. The Dirtball fam. What a great beer to, straight up, no lie, become kind of like a ritual within the Dirtball fam.
Andy warms my heart. We've talked about what these athletes go through, but I mean, the years that we put in, the years I put in saying the official, and you're like, not official. It's official now. Everywhere we go, people show up with their badge of honor. For a while, it was everybody showing up in a Bill Walton shirt. For a while, it was everybody was screaming "No Chill" or Joanne when we would get on stage. Now the thing is, dude, if you show up, you bring Miller Lites.
I mean, that's what I found so just heartwarming, right? Everybody who showed up at that tailgate had a 6-pack, 12-pack, whatever you would name it, 24-pack Miller Lite. It was just like, it was like a commercial. Friends getting together, handing out Miller Lites to each other. We
were Bob Uecker away from being a Miller Lite commercial.
Truly, we were. Guys, since 1975, Miller Lite has been the beer with taste you can depend on. No games, no gimmicks, just a great beer for people who like beer. Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/dirty sports to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. So we do have some big, it's a big week, Joe. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
You're a point. As we head into these final games, we got 2 on Saturday, the rest on Sunday. You know, I'm just going to say, I think it's the most important week in NFL history.
Yeah.
Right? Because of what happened and all the eyes that are going to be watching, and hopefully, like we said, his health improves, Damar's health improves, some things change for the better for the players. You have a 1-point lead in the Russell Wilson Dangerwich bet. We head into week 18. 2 games on Saturday. The first one, you have Chiefs, Raiders.
Can I ask you something about the Dangerwich bet and our things again? And I ask this with fear of jinxing it, with fear of jinxing my 1-point lead. There's a lot of talk, though, that this happens to you on a semi-regular basis since we've been doing this show.
I don't think it does.
You get out to a hot start.
I think it's happened twice.
You crumble down the stretch.
We've done this 8 times. So like, I think it's only happened twice.
This year again, I always try to get you to a point where it's basically the Ruther curse. I try to get you to a point where you have such a big lead that you guarantee victory. And I think you've learned not to at this point. Do you think that I'm going to say this, and again, with hopes not, do you feel like you talk yourself out? Or do you have a mental deficiency down the stretch? Or do you have the anti-clutch gene?
No, I'm not too worried. Like,
okay.
If I lose, I lose. Like, I mean, if anything,
people always talk about Michael Jordan's killer instinct and Kobe's killer instinct. Is this you? Do you have the Barry Bonds gene? Do you have the A-Rod gene? Like, you just strike out big moments. Is this what it is?
No, because I wouldn't call this a big moment. If I lose, I got to eat a sandwich.
Yeah,
right.
You gotta eat a lot of sandwiches.
Well, we'll see. I mean, we haven't
only a 1-point lead, that's for sure.
Yeah, like we haven't even decided if that just means 3 sandwiches, like a day's worth.
Yeah, I thought we settled on like it was a week one way or the other.
We did not.
Okay,
I have confirmation from Beverly Dillon Matas that we never confirmed.
Well, we have to. I'm gonna need like a nuclear key double turn from somebody else, because last week we had to call Mata just to tell him he didn't have the games right. So maybe Mata should focus on making sure he gets all of our picks right this week. And we'll have somebody else go back and check. Mata, don't worry about the Dangerwich bet. We'll find a Dangerwich dirt ball. You just make sure you get all the picks right this week.
Okay.
I'm not trying to lose this bet because you tell me Ruther picked the Raiders when he didn't or some shit like that. Bev, focus on the picks. Listen to everything twice. Be like Santa Claus. Have a list, check it twice. And also, I like that I'm demanding that from you, even though we give you nothing for your efforts.
Well,
except Dan Gordonley's ID that one time,
which failed miserably.
Yeah.
So we start with the Chiefs Raiders. It's in Las Vegas. Stidham played well last week, not well enough. They lost a close one in overtime. Was that a 1-game aberration? I don't know. Chiefs have been big favorites week to week, Joe, and they just continue to not even come close to covering. We have another big favorite this week. They have to win. They're 9.5-point favorites.
Last week of the season. How do we decide who goes first?
I'll go first. I'll go first.
Oh, he's taking it.
I'm going to be what the Bengals did when they said we want to give the ball in our franchise quarterback, Joe Burrow. 9 is a lot.
It's a
too
9
much.
point or it's 9.5?
9.5. And you know what? This is a pretty straightforward one for me. 9.5 is too much for me. I mean, there's no other way around it. That's too much for me. You can say the Raiders have nothing to play for. I disagree. I think in a way they're playing almost for Josh McDaniels, and maybe in a weird way, this kind of sneak peek at Stidham maybe with them. 9.5 is too much for me. It's in Las Vegas. Those fans will be turned. I'm taking the Raiders to cover.
I am going to agree with you. 9.5 is too much. Like I've said, it's going to be hard to not talk about Damar Hamlin in every aspect of football from this point on. But dare I say, the Raiders have Damar Hamlin to play for. And by that, I mean, like, is every team a Bills fan now, except the teams that might play them in the playoffs? Like, if you're the, Detroit Lions, are you rooting for the Bills for the rest of the season? Like, are you like, I think you are. And so that being said, I think the Raiders are like, they can still be the 1 seed. And you know what helps? If we beat the Chiefs. So, yeah, I think 9.5 is too much.
Well, we have another division game with the division on the line here. Jags Titans in Jacksonville. Jags are 6-point favorites.
Well,
this will be Saturday night, by the way. Primetime ESPN.
Jags are surging. Titans are collapsing.
Joshua Dobbs will be playing quarterback for the Titans.
Anybody besides Josh Dobbs. And I think I'm on the Titans. And I'm half on the Titans right now. I almost want to take the Titans. I'm thinking about it. But I can't. Josh Dobbs. God. I mean, is Derrick Henry back and playing and healthy and good to go?
I'm not sure. Can look it up.
How are the Titans going to score points?
He is playing.
I'm taking the Jags. I want to take the Titans. I'm tempted to take the Titans if you were playing quarterback. And Josh Dobbs, they're like, oh, he looked good last week. He didn't look good. I'm going to take the Jags. Reckless. I think that's the worst one so far, and we're 2 games in.
I'm definitely taking the Titans. I'm shocked you did that. I'm shocked.
I think it's just.
And you could be right.
Division game. Division on the line. Week 18. So obvious. This is going to be a field goal game.
Well, in my head, I think it's going to be a 3 or 4 point game. But
me too. But Josh Dobbs.
But Joe, I'll be honest. If the Jags won 27-7, I wouldn't be surprised either.
Yeah.
So I'm taking the Titans solely to 1, possibly gain a point on you. And 2, I think the Titans cover deep down. So those are the games Saturday night. And the Bucs have already wrapped up the division. So I believe the starters are not playing because the Falcons, this is where it gets dicey. The Falcons are 4-point favorites.
Where's the game?
It's in Atlanta. Damn, this is why I always Todd Bowles intends to play as starters.
For how long?
That's what's interesting. Atlanta's 4-point favorites. Dude, even if they play the backups, I mean, just neither of these teams can score. Neither of these teams can score. I'm going with the Bucs.
Me too. Try to talk you out of that one.
A little for how long? Just throwing that out there for how long?
Yeah. Didn't try to overplay that one. Tried to slow play it a little. You know, it's a lot of mind games going on here, but I didn't want to overdo it. I felt like if I overdid it, you'd see through it. I just tried to throw for how long. I was looking at my phone specifically. Wasn't trying to make eye contact. Calls my bluff. We both go Bucks.
All right. Patriots, Bills. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of emotion at this game. Buffalo's a 7-point favorite. It's in Orchard Park, so it's going to be so much emotion at this game.
There is a part of me that feels like there's a potential of this game being close because the Bills come out flat.
Yeah.
And because we have all these question marks about what's going to happen with these seeds and what's going to blah, blah, blah. And in a way, I'm like, is it like, do these teams not have to play week 18? Do we not have to make up this game because it's settled and it's done and the Bills lose this game and they're not the 1 seed because the Chiefs win and blah, 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 blah. But maybe it's the fucking Disney movie watcher, Disney sports movie vibes. But I also think there's a chance that Bills just come out and beat the absolute living shit out of them.
Yeah.
And that's the one I'm going with.
Well, I agree. I think, you have two things at stake here. You have a possible blowout or just a letdown. The problem with the Dolphins, the problem with the Patriots, and I watched that Dolphins game, they can't score, man.
Yeah.
They can't score. I just, and to me, I had the same thought process as you, but ultimately I'm saying I don't think they can keep up offensively.
Do you think again, I'm just going to say it every single time we have the conversation. It's fucking weird to talk about football when this has happened. It's weird to talk games. It's weird to talk specifically about the teams involved in that game. It's hard to talk about I don't fuck with fantasy at all. And part of my not fucking with fantasy is there's always been a thing about I hate the turning players into their statistics. I hate that. I also just hate fucking doing fantasy. But how do you think this line was affected by the injury?
It's a good question. I mean, I thought about it. I'll be honest. I thought about it.
You think this line's higher if this doesn't happen? Or lower?
I think it's lower.
So you think Vegas is counting on the Bills coming out and beating the shit out of them?
I do.
I wonder how this line has moved based on people wanting to support them.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think the Bills feel the energy of the entire football watching country, world, whatever you want to call it.
No, I meant the actual financial movement. Finances are what actually moves an NFL line.
Yeah.
A bookmaker sits in an office with a very difficult job of going, man, I'm putting up this line, and in the first 15 minutes, a guy with a ton of money could be like, nope, you fucked it up. And I see where you fucked it up, and I'm going to take advantage of that. And the line quickly adjusts if somebody makes a move. I'm wondering if this line has even been adjusted since it came out by people being like, you know what, I'm betting the Bills this week. It's crazy that we're talking about this shit. But again, we're going to be talking about it for the whole fucking rest of the season.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, maybe it's again, I just think that if I had to guess, I think the Bills come out and play well.
All right. So sounds like we both are on the same page there. We both think the Bills are going to win and cover. And I think we'll all be rooting for them. I don't know who won't be. Patriots fans. That's it. All right. Vikings, Bears. This is in Chicago. who is playing quarterback? Because I know Justin Fields is not playing.
Is Roscoe okay? I feel like
dude. I don't, dude.
You keep
I
peering
know.
to both sides like you're walking down, like you're going down a dangerous alley.
Well, because he peed, dude. He never does. He peed in the house. He had diarrhea this morning. He just keeps looking at me. We're gonna have to do another 5-minute break so I can see if he's gonna shit all over the backyard.
Casa de Roscoe.
I mean, he's never like this, but I shamed him. Like, what are you supposed to do? Like, I grabbed him down and I'm like, dude, you peed, and he ran away, and now he peed in this room. And I don't know why. It doesn't make sense. He won't like he's his back to me now. He's sitting on his bed. I don't know if he has diarrhea, if he like something's going on with him, but he peed at my girlfriend's parents' house. There's something going on with him.
Okay.
You're like, I don't need to know all this.
All I know is, and we talked about this. I came to town. We met Little Head Roscoe. We met the Build-A-Bear. Your girlfriend may or may not exist. We've literally got no. I'm less confident your girlfriend is a real person now than before I visited. So it's Casa de Roscoe. It's a wild place. It's a wild place. The only thing I know about Casa de Roscoe, Roscoe's in charge, hence the name Casa de Roscoe. Andy Ruther plays way too much Pop-A-Shot. 125. I was like, what are we talking about here?
First of all, I don't play that much. How many games did I play? You played Pop-A-Shot nonstop.
Well, yeah. But I mean,
I actually don't play that much. So I have not played since you left. I don't play. Dude, here's what I think it is. I think my small build and my small hands are perfect for the Pop-A-Shot. I think it's a little man's game, and I'm a little man.
Yeah, well, 125 was unreasonable. Although when I hit 111 on a random, I was like, oh, okay, I see how this can be done. At first, I was like, 125 is ridiculous. Were you just standing up there hitting the button? But yeah, Casa de Roscoe, wild place. A lot of snacks. We had a lot of snacks at Casa de Roscoe. Maybe Roscoe got into the Buckeyes. Have you thought about that?
The Buckeyes were a little too rich for you, huh?
I mean, it was like a reverse peanut butter cup. It was almost like chocolate covered in peanut butter.
There's still a lot here.
It's like to me that Buckeye is like a one a week snack. Just a blast of peanut butter and chocolate.
Welcome to Ohio, man.
Yeah.
Eating healthy is not a thing. But I got something that might help that, something that's arriving either this week or next week, and you should get some as well. Some Butcher Box high quality meat. High quality meat and seafood delivered right to your door, Joe. I'm talking about getting on a much better diet. And I think that New Year's resolution, which you and I both discussed, is always delayed because, hey, we had some things happen with football. We had to delay it. I think it's going to start when my Butcher Box arrives at the front door. It's 100% grass-fed beef, free-range organic chicken, pork-raised, crate-free, and wild-caught seafood. No antibiotics or added hormones. It's all humanely raised. The best part about Butcher Box, free shipping for the continental U.S. and no surprise fees. What are you going to cook, Joe, when that Butcher Box arrives? You're a steak guy.
You know me. I want two things from Butcher Box. Not that I didn't love the chicken that I got from Butcher Box. Not that I didn't love the sausage that I got from Butcher Box. Not that I didn't love the seafood that I got from Butcher Box one time. Not that I didn't love the little tartlets of apple pie that I got from Butcher Box. But if I could make an adjustment to my Butcher Box order and just have two things arrive, I only need two things. I need steak and I need bacon.
Yeah.
I don't need burgers. They're nice. I like the burgers they gave me. Delicious ground beef. I don't need them. There should be, honestly, I hope that, listen, Dirtballs, here's what I need you to do. I need you guys to order from Butcher Box. I need this to be the next Miller Lite. you know how Luke Combs has his own like Miller Lite cans and whatever. We need the no chill box. I want you guys to support this so much that Butcher Box gives me my own box. The no chill box. It's just steaks and bacon, steaks and bacon, steaks and bacon. 5 packets of bacon, 25 steaks. The no chill box. When you say fuck my health, I want steaks and bacon. Forget chicken. I just bacon, 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 bacon.
Well, you can get the New Year bundle for free plus $10 off when you sign up today. That's a 14-ounce pork tenderloin, 2 pounds of ground turkey, and 4 top sirloin steaks free in your first box.
Banana land.
Sign up at butcherbox.com/dirty and use code DIRTY to claim this offer. All right. Vikings, Bears. Minnesota is 7.5-point favorites. Who is starting for the Bears this week? I am up first.
I know Nathan Peterman is off. Was brought in. I don't know if he's starting.
Yes, he is starting. So the Vikings, are they locked in that 3 seed or no?
No.
So they have something to play for.
Maybe they are. No, I don't think they are. I don't think they are. Because the Eagles could lose and the Cowboys could lose. And the Niners could, they could move up.
This is a tough one for me. And I'm up first. The Vikings took an absolute beatdown last week.
Yeah.
And now they're 7.5-point favorites. I don't care if they're playing Nathan Peterman. It's still on the road in January in Chicago on Soldier Field, a team that normally plays in the Dome. But the Bears have been getting blown out too. Is this a bounce back game? Part of me saying, yeah, the Vikings are going to come out strong, and then all the Vikings crews and be like, yeah, man, the Vikings are back.
Let me ask you something. What would be the number that you'd be confident? Do you think if it was 7, would you be confident with 6? And if it was 6.5, would it change your mind?
Probably 4.
4. So then you're fully on the Vikings.
What do you mean?
So 4, you're saying right now it seems like you're leaning toward the Vikings.
No, I'm leaning towards the Bears.
Oh, okay.
I know you're trying to play mind games with me because I haven't made my pick, but
I actually didn't know. I don't know what you're up to.
Well, I'm saying I think 7.5 is a lot.
Right.
But I'm also like Nathan Peterman.
Right.
Like, I mean, you're going to throw 3 picks in the first half. It's going to cause 17 points.
Right.
Like I don't know. The Vikings burned me last week. The Vikings have been very hit or miss for me.
Yeah.
By the way, the Vikings have been outscored. I believe they've given up more points than they've scored this year, which is wild that they're 12-4.
Like with some significance. I think it's 12 or 15 or 19 points or something like that.
I'm gonna go with my gut. I'm gonna go Bears.
Okay, I'm going the Vikings.
Damn.
Let's go. And here's why. Vikings are absolutely frauds. And this is how they've become frauds. Because they've conned their fan base into believing them by beating bad teams and getting absolutely fucking blown out by good teams. The Bears are bad. Bears are starting Nathan Peterman. I don't know what the Bears are doing with Justin Fields. I get that you're like, oh, he's been playing a little bit hurt, but it's the last game of the season. He's got the whole offseason. You have a potential of a rushing record. I'm assuming that Justin Fields is part of this decision, and there is some part of me. I made the joke on Twitter, Nathan Peterman diving into free agency after playing the Vikings defense. But at the same time, it's really not even about Nathan Peterman. It's about the Vikings are frauds and they can't wait as a Giants fan. I love the confidence Minnesota's going to have again going into our playoff game because they beat the shit out of the Bears in a meaningless game for the Bears. I'm on the Vikings. That was hard work.
Hold on a second, dude. I don't know give me a second. He's scratching. What is going on here? Buddy, what are you doing?
I would just like to say, guys, and there's some dirt balls that recognize this because I said it a couple weeks ago.
I gotta let him out. This is
yeah. And I'm gonna go ahead, go for it.
You can take a break. We can just pause the show.
I'll keep things going.
You're just good.
When you buy 10 tickets on Vivid Seats,
well, I love that you. Are you running
free.
commercials?
I wonder what my 11th will be.
You can riff. I'm gonna. Let me just handle this. Unbelievable.
Okay. Guys, I talked about a couple weeks ago playing the mind games with Ruther. I stole the basically the difference in Pick'em right now is the Jags Jets game, where I absolutely mind fucked Andy Ruther and convinced him to take the Jets. And you can go back to listen to that from a couple weeks ago. Andy Ruther just got mind fucked again. He got mind fucked out of taking the Vikings. He was on the verge of taking the Vikings. You go back and listen. He's like, oh, what? Or is this a bounce back game for them? And I snuck in. Right when he said, is this a bounce back game? I snuck in and I saw my window and I said, oh, what would make you more confident? And then suddenly he was back on the Bears. So I mind fucked him there. And listen, he has been peering around all episode. Like, where's Roscoe? What's going on with Roscoe? But this right now, the standing up in this moment, this was Andy Ruther taking a this is his Doc Rivers taking a timeout. I just went on an 11-0 run and that was just an anxious timeout. He is scared about what I'm going to say it right now. I don't feel super confident about my Jags Titans bet. The Jags Titans pick. I don't feel confident about it. Just feel really wrong to pick Josh Dobbs. It felt wrong to me. I watched him the other game. I didn't like it. I don't feel confident about it, though. The idea that game isn't close with the division on the line when Vrabel's coaching, that was a bad pick. It could work out in my favor. I mean, Vegas knows what they're doing. It could work out in my favor. But this one I wanted. I wanted the Vikings on this one. I think the Vikings are frauds. And I think that the Vikings are going to have their fan base jacked up for the first playoff game. Honestly, I don't even want the Vikings to lose this game. Not because of my point, forget that. But also, I don't want the Vikings backing into the playoffs because then they sort things out. I want the Vikings cruise controlling into the playoffs. 25-point victory. They feel great. Everything's right. The Packers game was an aberration. Don't worry about it. We're fine because you're not. You're frauds. The Giants pass rush coming alive. Kirk Cousins playoff failure. Can't wait for it. Am I very confident? No. Am I slightly confident? Yes. So I saw this as a Vikings win. Again, listen, Vegas knows what they're doing. The 7.5, I don't like the hook. I'd be much more comfortable with 6.5. I'd be way more comfortable with 6.5. But I just conned Andy into taking the Bears, and maybe I benefit from that, or maybe this is my undoing and I end up eating danger witches. But one thing is for sure, Roscoe's fine. And Andy has stepped away because he just got, he was playing checkers and I was playing 3D chess. So I just want everybody to know that's what happened. Also, and I talked about it before, since Andy Ruther is off camera, I want everybody to know that I truly believe Andy Ruther's girlfriend does not exist. A lot of decoration around Casa de Roscoe, a lot of Christmas trees up, a lot of frilly, girly stuff where I'm like, it looks like a woman lives here, but it also looks like someone wants it to look like a woman lives there. Not a ton of pictures of her around the house. I didn't see a framed Andy and Brittany, I believe. I didn't see a framed picture of them hugging. I didn't see, their first trip to wherever. The decor, pretty much out of the bag Christmas decor. There was a closet full of women's clothes, but not hard to get, not hard to acquire. Andy's got a lot of sisters-in-laws. Andy's got a mom who sadly passed away. There's some women's clothes to be had. Did he fill his closet with women's clothes and adopt a small-headed, fat-bodied dog to try to convince us that he has a relationship. Possibly. That's what you guys should know about what's happening here. How long is he going to step away? Is he on the phone trying to figure out his next move in terms of this pick'em? I don't know, but I know one thing for sure. Roscoe's fine. Andy shook. Andy probably needs to go shit in the yard. I think that's what happened. And he's back.
Dude, I mean, I don't know what's going on with this dog.
I said that was your Doc Rivers timeout. I said, I just took one from you there. You called a timeout. I was like, I don't think Roscoe's got a shit in the yard. I think Andy has to shit in the yard. Roscoe's fine. Andy.
No, he didn't shit. He didn't shit.
Oh, I know he didn't shit. Did you shit in the yard?
No.
Did you look at the game? Did you look at any of the lines while you were gone? Was this truly about Roscoe?
Dude, he's out of control. And I don't know if this is because he couldn't hang with us two nights in a row.
Two out of the last 3 episodes, I've been required to just go solo for 6 to 7 minutes at a time. I'm demanding a raise suit.
I mean, I don't know what to do. Like this dog, he's never been like this.
My Venmo's at Joe Prano for anybody who thinks I need a financial bump for carrying the show for minutes on end when Ruther just steps away.
He just grabbed a toy now. And like, you know what it is? It's like now, like, I think I'm turning into his bitch. I've given him so much love in this house that like, now it's like, I'm on demand. But normally he just sleeps during the show, right? He doesn't bother me. He goes to a different part of the house. He's just, I don't know what's going on. It's all changed since you guys visited. I'm just saying everything changed. What did Justin do to him? What happened on that couch?
We'll never know.
I can't wait to go back and listen to hear what you said about me. Bears, Vikings. We covered that. All right.
Yeah.
Next up, Ravens, Bengals. Bengals are 7-point favorites. You're up first here.
Wow. I'm going with the Ravens. Where's the game?
It's in Cincinnati.
I'm going with the Bengals. 7. I know it's Tyler Huntley, right?
Yeah, I think. I don't know.
But just to me, this is I mean, I feel the same way about this game as I felt about the Bills game. The Bengals could come. I mean, the Bengals look like their offense was ready to percolate against the Bills. But for the division, 7-point game seems crazy to me.
It's high. It's really high.
The Bengals have a 0.5 point differential in their game at the Ravens for the division as the Vikings against the meaningless Bears game. It's the same spread. Vegas is on the same spread.
Well, one is at home. I'm going with the Bengals. I'm going to go a little crazy.
Woo-wee. Wow. That is a shocker. That was not even there's no mind game involved there. I just never saw that coming.
I think the Bengals just kicked their ass.
Wow.
I think Joe Burrow is so good and he's so locked and loaded. He is going to have his guys ready to play. They're going to be motivated. They're going to have good, high emotional energy, and they are going to kick the living shit out of the Ravens. And I think the Ravens will not be able to score and keep up. And I think it's an absolute blowout. Bengals by 2 touchdowns.
Wow.
There's where the Ruther predictions happen and the backfiring. All right, so we're getting a few different picks. Texans, Colts. This is a worthless game, Joe. So let's have fun and pick it. The Colts are 2.5-point favorites.
Sorry, give me this game again. I was replying to something really quick.
It's all right. Texans, Colts. It's
Texans in the Colts are 2-point favorites.
Colts are 2.5-point favorites.
I mean, the Colts are fucking bad. If you're the This is tough. The big question mark in this game is, are the Texans throwing the game? Correct?
I'm just trying to see who else. They have 2 wins. The Bears have 3. Good question. I don't know.
The Bears have 3, but the Bears have Fields.
Who's playing quarterback for the Colts?
I don't know.
Just
This is tough, man. This is a tough one. Am I up first?
yeah. This is a real tough one.
Um,
I mean, does it really matter?
I'm taking Houston to win the game.
Sam Ellinger starting.
I'm taking Houston to win the game.
I just can't take the Colts. I'm gonna have to agree with you. Like I don't know if Houston wins. I'm not gonna lose. I don't want to lose a pick on the Colts. I just don't. Sorry. Taking the Colts. I'm sorry, I'm taking the Texans. All right, Jets, Dolphins. Jets are a 1-point favorite.
In Miami?
In Miami. I guess because the Dolphins are on their 3rd string quarterback.
Right.
I don't know if you saw Robert Saw. They're still backing Zach Wilson. It's wild to me. What he said. He's only 23. He needs to go read a book, get away from the game. The thought of Zach Wilson reading a book is hilarious to me, for the record. He's the last guy I picture reading a book.
That wasn't the Book of Latter-day Saints, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Why are the Jets a 1-point favorite is the question.
I don't know. I guess the quarterback situation, but I don't know. I mean, the Jets quarterback situation isn't a whole lot better. Like, I know everybody was on like the Mike White, but like we both called it last week. Mike White, it was like, Mike White's coming back. How are you guys so confident? We're like, it's still the fucking Jets.
I'm taking the Dolphins.
I'm taking the Jets. Let's go. Mike White, we trust. Dolphins third string quarterback. Let's fucking go. I hate this pick, but
I'm shocked you did that. You shocked me. We're shocking each other this week. This is like all bets are off. We're basically neck and neck.
Yeah.
Ooh. You're taking the Jets.
It's really just the Dolphins quarterback situation for me. Here's what I like. Here's what makes me think the Jets, the Dolphins quarterback situation, and the losing streak. Here's what makes me think the Dolphins. It's in Miami, and Jets gonna Jets. So it was right there. But Miami, the wheels are off almost more than the Jets.
True. Miami can make the playoffs if they win. So I'm going to trust that. All right. Panthers, Saints. You're up. It's in New Orleans. The Saints are 3.5-point favorites.
Panthers, Saints. It's in New Orleans. Oh, everybody eliminated from playoff contention here, right? No one's in the mix.
Correct.
Panthers, Saints. It's in New Orleans. 3.5. Is that what we said?
Yeah. Saints are 3.5-point favorites.
I'll take the Panthers with the half-point hook.
Were you reading my mind there?
Well, it's pretty like nobody has anything to play for. Seems like a division 3-point game. Which team's kicking it at the end for the win? I don't know. One of them. And even if it's the Saints, I still win.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I think the Panthers cover. Bro, Roscoe is like the weirdest. I think he's possessed. He keeps coming in here. He's sniffing everything in the room. I don't know what's going on here. This is the weirdest. Buddy, we're done with the show in 10 minutes. All right. Browns. So we're both going to take the Panthers. Browns, Steelers. It's in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has a long shot to making the playoffs. They don't want to end the streak of Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. Pittsburgh's 2.5-point favorites
in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
This is tough, man. This is a tough game. Well, you're first, so I don't really have
This is a tough game.
When you buy
God
10
damn it.
tickets
I'm
on Vivid
sorry.
Seats, you get
I
the
mean,
11th
they just like
ticket
you
free.
can.
I
Here's
went
what I don't
once.
get. I have hit pause. Like you're forcing me to play this ad after every 10 minutes or some shit.
We talked about we watched the end of the Sunday night game when Randy Ruther and I arrived to Cincinnati. And I've been saying this the whole year, and we didn't talk about it at all on Monday. And I actually thought about it after the fact. I like Kenny Pickett, man. I'm a Kenny Pickett stan. Kenny Pickett's my new like fucking I don't know who, but I like Kenny Pickett.
So it sounds like you want to take the Steelers.
No. This is separate. I actually, and I'll say this: there no head games involved here since it's your pick first. I have no idea who I'm picking in this game. I think it could go either way. I just want to say separate from all that. I like Kenny Pickett, and I like Kenny Pickett's future in Pittsburgh, and I think that Kenny Pickett's going to be their quarterback for a while, and I like it. I'm here for it. I'm a Kenny Pickett fan. And guess what? Kenny Pickett has done something I didn't even think I would do. Like now I'm rooting for Mike Tomlin all of a sudden. I like the Steelers again. I just hated Ben Roethlisberger so much. And to be fair, I hate most accused rapists.
Well, look, I think Tomlin keeps the streak alive, not having a losing season. And I think if that happens, they win this game and they win by 3. I just think they'll be ready to play more than the Browns. I'm going to take the Steelers to win and cover.
What's the spread? 2.5?
Yeah, and that's why. It's just
yeah.
I think I'm
with you on the Steelers. I don't know. I think I'll tell you what, gambling wise, this is a full stay away for me. Like I'm not going to touch this game. I have no idea who's going to win. But for rooting purposes, like you say, I never think about not losing a point on a specific game, but it's like sometimes I'll think about like not losing a point while I'm rooting. Like I just said the reason I'm back on the Steelers is because they got rid of their rapist. Meanwhile, now I'm a Kenny Pickett fan, and he in week 18 he's going against an accused sexual assaulter. Like for rooting, I don't want to root for the Browns this week, and for that reason, I'll take the Steelers with you. We have enough different picks where I don't have to. Also, I'm sitting on the lead here, even though it's a 1-point lead and could be evaporated by that point. But
all right, we'll both go with the Steelers. Next up, you have the later games, 4:00 and later games, specifically 4:25. Chargers Broncos in Denver. Denver's a 1.5-point favorite. Are the Chargers sitting their starters? Why? Because the Chargers haven't locked. I guess, do they just not care about seeding?
Chargers have locked. I think Chargers, like the Giants, are locked into the 6.
They're in a 5 right now.
5. I think they're locked in, right? Because who's behind them?
They have the same record, I believe, as the Ravens. Chargers not looking to rest starters versus Broncos, focused on locking in number 5 seed.
Okay. Then I guess I'm taking...
Also, 19 hours ago, Chargers could be positioned to rest starters.
Oh, I guess because the other game happens before it. So they could be locked into the 5.
Correct.
That's a wacky situation we find ourselves in.
I mean, it really is. The Broncos are 1.5-point favorites right now. You're up first. I don't even know what you do here.
Who's the Chargers backup? Chase Daniel?
Yeah.
Okay. Give me the Chargers to win the game. Can you imagine? We're in the 425 games. We have what? How many games do we have on the list below this?
There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 425 games.
And that's it, right? And then there's one Sunday night game.
Correct.
So can you imagine if we get into the final week afternoon games and I give up my 1-point lead by picking Russell Wilson? No, I'll let Chase cook.
Well, the problem is there's too much of a risk on the starters. Like I can't take Denver with any rational thought, because what if Justin Herbert and the crew is playing? Like, I can't take that chance.
Well, but okay, hold on. Now listen, I'm not trying to talk you into anything here, but you think the Bengals are going to blow out win earlier and the Chargers will be locked into the 5.
I do.
So theoretically, you truly believe that they won't be playing their starters by that point.
But I don't know if who knows? They might play their starters regardless.
Right. Okay. So you're with the Chargers.
It's just like Brandon Staley. Who knows what that guy's going to do?
Right. Let Chase cook.
Let Chase cook. All right. Giants, Eagles. Eagles are 14-point favorites. You guys are definitely resting your starters then, right?
Yes, but I don't know what resting our starters means. But
is Jalen Hurts playing?
Can I just say this? Let me say this about the Eagles. If you are the Eagles right now, if you're an Eagles fan, do you want Jalen Hurts to play?
Well, you want him to get healthy.
Yeah. If the Eagles can't win versus the Giants sitting their starters with the 1 seed on the line without Jalen Hurts in, are you even a Super Bowl contender?
No.
So to me, if I'm an Eagles fan, I don't want Jalen Hurts anywhere near this game. That being said, then you go into a playoffs and he has to start his first playoff game as the first game he's played in or whatever amount of time. Am I first or are you first?
I'm first.
Okay.
What's your guys' deal? Are you guys playing your starters? No.
I believe there's been no
who's the backup quarterback? Tyrod Taylor?
Tyrod Taylor.
I can't. 14's too big for me, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't really care who's playing quarterback for anybody. Or
I gotta take the Giants. 14 is so big. You gotta win by 15 now.
And it's 14.5, right?
I have it at 14.
Okay.
I'm still taking the Giants.
Yeah, me too.
Well, you have another 14-point spread in the next game. Cardinals, Niners. It's in San Francisco. Who you got in that big spread?
The Cardinals. I think the Niners are the class in the NFC. I think their defense too damn good.
Damn it, dude. What is up with this fucking ad?
I think the Niners are the class of the NFC right now with just their defense alone. Brock Purdy's looked fine to good. The scare that the Raiders gave them is one thing. I think they'll come back and they'll play well, but like, what are we really even talking about in terms of a score here? I don't really like. I almost feel like a scare's coming again.
Well, here's the thing: 14, they might just sit there. Like if they're up big, they're going to sit their starters.
Yeah,
I'm not taking any 14-point spreads. Just I'm not. So I guess we're going to agree again. I'll take the Cardinals. All right, I'm up first. Rams, Seahawks in Seattle. Seahawks have to win and get a little help. Seahawks are 6-point favorites. Who's playing QB for the Rams? Is Baker Mayfield still playing QB?
I think so.
Probably Wagner revenge game. This is a tough one.
Yeah, this is really tough.
I'm gonna go with the Rams.
I'm gonna go with the Rams too. I think just 6. Doesn't it feel like this game has drama?
Yeah, it's gonna be a close game, I think.
Me too.
All right. Last two. Cowboys Commanders in DC. Dallas is 7-point favorites. You're up first.
I'll take the Cowboys. I think that the Cowboys.
Heineke starting again.
Is he?
Yeah.
Wow.
What the hell were they thinking last week?
I thought I saw like a third guy was starting.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
I'm going to take the Cowboys regardless.
Let me see.
I'm pulling it up for you. Commanders QB.
Taylor Heineke and Sam Powell.
Sam Howell.
Okay, Sam Howell is starting. It sounds like Taylor Heineke was the initial plan, and Rivera ended up going with Sam Howell. Yeah, against that against that Dallas D. No, thank you. I'm gonna have to go. I was actually gonna go with the Commanders if Heineke was starting. Now I'm not. I mean, I don't know who Sam Howell is. Sounds like a sitcom character.
Yeah, he is. He's from Gilligan's Island. Oh yeah, yes, I'm starting as the Cowboys. Hey, come here, honey bunny.
Oh man. Woo. Okay. All right, we're both gonna go with Dallas. Your final game. Lions Packers Sunday Night Football. Packers win, they're in. Lions win, they need a Seattle loss. 4.5-point Packer favorites. Am I up?
You are.
It's tough.
How many different picks do we have so far? Do you have it noted?
No, I think we have at least 4 though. I think it's going to come down to this. I just have a feeling it would only come down to a Lions game. Are the Lions ready for this moment? That's what I'm looking at right now. Are the Lions ready for this moment? Vegas would tell me no. The bettors, 4.5 is a big spread for this being on the line. Jared Goff in Lambeau. Dude, come on. Prime time. I'm going Pack. Do it. Pick the Lions.
Where is it? It's in Lambeau.
Yeah.
This is my fear with this game, and I am tempted to pick the Lions here. I'm tempted to pick the Lions losing in the most dramatic fashion. Field goal at the buzzer. Packers win. Lions cover. I'd be way more confident with it being 4.5 doesn't I don't feel like we have a backdoor Goff situation. 5.5, 6 points. We got a backdoor Goff. You close it. It's not a touchdown game at the end. 4.5 doesn't really make me feel like it's a backdoor Goff. 4.5 does make me scared because I think it's going to be a close-ish game. Lambeau's a factor. But what are we talking about here, Andy? You've been anti-Lions. I can't even like the idea of me having
When you
to
buy 10 tickets on Vivid
dude,
Seats, you get the 11th
this is
ticket free.
unbelievable.
the idea of me being up a point coming into this week and putting a point on the Lions on the road with a with a potential playoff berth at stake, and then me having to go in. Then they get blown out, and me having to go in Lions Reddit and read about how this is actually what they wanted to have happen, and this is just going to improve their grit for next year. There's no way. There's no way. I can't do it. I'm going with the Packers too. And let's just hope it doesn't come down to it. Let's just hope I don't need it.
I just keep thinking of Jared Goff in the original Medium Pizza Bowl on the road.
Also, Jared Goff, I think in poor weather, not good, right? I don't know what it's supposed to be like in.
I assume not good. All right, there we have it. I think we had at least 4 different picks.
4 is okay. If I go 2 and 2,
you win.
I win.
So I need to go 3 and 1.
If there's 4 picks, yeah.
That's tough.
3 and 1, you win though.
That's tough.
3 and 1, you win. If we have 5 different picks, somebody goes 3 and 2, we push it into the playoffs.
Correct. And if the Lions don't win, I win my bet with Dirtball Matt Boonstra. Okay. All right, there we have it. Wow, long episode. 310-359-8365. That is the hotline. We're on at The Dirty Sports, all social media.
I'm at Joe Prano on all social media except for Twitter, where I remain at Fix Your Life. Please follow me on Instagram, specifically for shows. Also follow me on TikTok because TikTok's fun. So yeah, follow me those places. Keep your eye on my Instagram story if you want to come to a show. I'm at the Comedy Cellar now through Sunday. I've got a couple stand spots mixed in. We've got Vegas in a few weeks, 16th to the 22nd. I'll be at the Comedy Cellar in Las Vegas, 26th and 27th or 27th and 28th. The Friday and Saturday, the following weekend, I guess that would be the 27th and 28th. I will be at Dead Crow Comedy Club in Wilmington, North Carolina. Please get your tickets now. I'm headlining, and those will be super fun nights, so buy your tickets now. Sketchfest in San Francisco in early February. Lots more shows to come. So follow me on social media so that you can see those. Amazon Prime Video Sports Block tomorrow. 2 of their shows, The Backup Plan and Game Breakers, going to be guesting. No idea what I'm going to be talking about, but I assume, the fact that I was at the Monday Night Football game where this injury occurred, it's probably going to come up, maybe some NBA stuff. Who knows? No idea what's on the docket, but check me out on those shows and come out and see a show. And yeah, that's my plugs.
Cool. All right, guys. Thanks for sticking with us. We'll see you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend.